By developing codes and rules to live by, this means we don't have to start every day working out how to behave, working out who to be. The brilliant paradox of freedom is that it is created by constraints. Interestingly, studies on happiness showed that those who were happiest had a set of rules guiding their moral compass that gave them a greater sense of purpose and meaning in their lives. And the Stoics, of course, believed in this. They thought that you should settle on the type of person that you want to be and stick to it, whether alone or in company. They also had many rules for those days that are just as applicable to today. They thought that most of the things that we crave for passionately are actually just very trivial, and that for many people, the acquisition of wealth does not actually end their troubles, it just only changes them. So they strive to find ways to be content with a more normal life, which required, of course, less struggle and less pain and much more happiness. Stoicism has been answering the questions of how to live a good life for thousands of years, and their ancient wisdom has stood the test of time and is still completely relevant today. And so in this episode, we're going to talk about the 24 rules of Stoicism to follow that will make you a better and more content person in any situation, whoever you are and wherever you are. So welcome to the Growth Mindset Podcast with me, Samuel Webster Harris, where we are dissecting the 24 rules of Stoicism, and more on that after the break. In case you're curious as to how I've come up with 24 rules of Stoicism, well, actually, I have aggregated some rules into a general theme that turned them into a single rule, just to make an accurate title of 24 rules. The Stoics do call us to accept the imperfections in life and to not waste time worrying about things that do not need to be worried about. So let's crack into it. Number 1, view obstacles as opportunities. We couldn't start with something more growth mindset. Challenges are chances to grow and learn. Embrace them as part of your journey. You need to say that this isn't something that happened to me, it's something that's happened for me. Instead of victimizing your situations, choose to view yourself as a more powerful person. As a Stoic said, it is the difficulties that show us who we are. And Alex Hormozy has a really great saying that if you commit to doing a new hard thing, like a new hobby this year or starting a business, etc., and then when it gets hard, you shouldn't be like, oh, this is so difficult. You should be like, yes, it's hard. I planned to do a hard thing and now it's hard. This means I'm actually doing the thing. So the obstacle is the way. And if you're doing something hard, that means it's probably worth doing. Number 2, embrace change. You should recognize that change is a natural part of life and just adapt more flexibly. The only constant in life, of course, is change. Ultimately, change is so inevitable and an ongoing part of existence that fighting it is just a losing battle. Life is dynamic and not static, and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances is crucial for resilience and for growth. In the modern day, things are changing so fast that if you don't embrace change, you are going to be a failure. When I started this podcast 7 years ago, the landscape was dramatically different, and my podcast would definitely be dead if I hadn't changed from what I was doing 7 years ago. And that's just the nature of the market. But if you just look at technology, it's radically changing things such as the iPhones or ChatGPT that's just come out. They say now that ChatGPT won't replace your job necessarily, but someone that knows how to use ChatGPT effectively will take your job. And so you have to skill up, you have to embrace change and take on new things. And a similar rule to this is to be able to accept the whims of fate. You should just understand and adapt to the unpredictable nature of life, which Nietzsche was a huge advocate of as well when it came to accepting fate. Life is about finding peace in the inevitability of fate instead of resisting it. So imagine someone who's facing an unexpected health challenge. Rather than succumbing to despair, if they can just accept this new reality and find ways to adapt their lifestyle and their mindset, they can live a happier life. Their acceptance doesn't mean passivity. Instead, it's just a proactive embracing of their situation, finding new meaning and new ways to flourish within their new circumstances. Resisting fate will only make your life much worse. Now, on to number 3, practicing gratitude. I'm sure you've heard this before, and you will definitely hear it again, but you should regularly reflect on and appreciate the things you have. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. The Stoics said that when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. By acknowledging and appreciating what we have, we can find contentment and joy in our current circumstances rather than constantly seeking more. And this is something that I think we struggle with. I think on an intellectual level, we can be grateful for the things that we have, like modern technology and a good education. But a lot of it is just something we're so used to that we don't notice it. When I lived in Nepal for 3 months, like the roads didn't even work. There was no hot water. You couldn't drink the water. And there was no such thing as office jobs. You basically just work in a farm, making no money, or in the tourism trade. And certainly coming back to the Western world, I'm just so grateful to be able to get in a car and go on a road and get somewhere within an hour. It's insane. You totally can't do that in Nepal. So cultivating different experiences that can actually help some gratitude for the things you have is really valuable. And on the subject of gratitude, a similar rule that I'm just going to stick in this one is living according to nature and embracing your natural human capacities and living in harmony with the natural world, which I think comes from a sense of gratitude for what you have. As Lao Tzu says, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. And I think if you embrace the natural rhythm in life, in your actions, and just recognize that nature's pace, though often unhurried, is effective and purposeful, you can be calmer and you can be more grateful. Now that might mean things like choosing to walk or cycle rather than driving, might mean spending time outdoors or making decisions that align with your natural cycles and the environment, like eating seasonally and locally sourced foods. And I think that has a really grounding effect on you that helps you feel more grateful. And I think another thing that helps with gratitude is accepting just imperfections, because part of nature is imperfection. And that means that you can also embrace the imperfections in yourself and the world around you. Instead of trying to control everything or wishing for things to be different, you can accept them as they are and be grateful for what is, instead of seeking some kind of like weird, more perfect version of whatever it is that you have. And now, rule number 4, cultivating mindfulness. So try and be present in the moment and acutely aware of your thoughts, feelings, surroundings, and actions without the rush to judge them. This creates increased awareness. And by creating this increased awareness, we can be more accepting and less needy or rushed to form an opinion or respond with an action. The present moment is the only time over which we have dominion, and we should learn to treat it like that. This relates heavily to a very important concept about avoiding imagined troubles. And the Stoics really believed in not suffering from worries and fears that might never materialize, because the stuff that you're worried about, it will happen or it won't, but worrying doesn't affect it. And we often suffer much more greatly in our imagination than in reality. So instead, cultivate mindfulness and just be more present in the moment without letting your mind wander through the stretches of time just to make your current life more difficult when there's no need for it. Rule number 5, ask, is this essential? Constantly question the necessity of your actions and choices. Doing the thing is doing the thing. Nothing else is doing the thing. Talking about the thing, planning the thing, posting on social media about the thing, cleaning up before you do the thing, or getting a better laptop, phone, or desk setup for the thing is not doing the thing. Only doing the thing is doing the thing. And so if you ever want to do something, just work out what that thing is and do that instead of having a bunch of other stuff around you. And then, of course, the Stoics loved cutting back on anything that wasn't essential. The rule was say no to anything non-essential. Decline what is unimportant, and by doing that, it creates space for what matters. It's not about daily increases, but often it's about a daily decrease. Hack away the inessentials. Bruce Lee actually said that it's not about daily increase, but a daily decrease. Hack away the inessentials. He also said that he fears not the man who's practiced 5,000 kicks, but the man who has practiced the same kick 5,000 times. He was also obsessed with stripping away the superfluous to focus on what truly matters, which leads to much greater efficiency and clarity in life. It's amazingly liberating to do less stuff. I personally get so much more done when I have less things on, without lots of meetings or calls or reviews or check-ins, without working on 3 different business ideas at a time or moving house every month. Without those things, I actually have so much time just to write much more, to put the proper amount of time needed into the podcast to make the podcast really good and consistent. And I can get to the end of the day with just having achieved like my one big goal for the day, and it feels so relaxing. And then I have time to do things like seeing friends, going surfing, and actually just enjoying my life whilst feeling way more productive than when I was trying to do lots of things. So, as I said, ask if this is essential. Now, the next rule, reflect on mortality, or memento mori. Remembering that life is only temporary can help you on what truly matters. They said that you cannot escape death, but at least you can escape the fear of it. So you should always choose to live in every moment fully rather than allowing yourself to just pass time waiting for things. Because so many of us have these ideas of things that we think will be good for us in a few years' time when something is more perfect or something magically appears and the right partner's there for us or the right job is there for us. And actually, we just need to go and do stuff right now. And as part of seizing the moment, they had the phrase to live as if reborn. You should approach each new day as a new life, a fresh start. In fact, it was the Buddha who said that each morning we are born again, and what we do today is what matters most. And the idea of viewing each day as a new beginning is so powerful. It's an opportunity to start afresh, to make choices that reflect our best selves. It's about letting go of the past, letting go of our mistakes, and focusing on the potential of the present. And on the subject of the present, rule number 7 is to value time properly. Recognize your time as the most valuable resource you have and use it wisely. It's the only resource that is finite and will run out. You can make more money, you can get more stuff. You can't ever get time back. Like Warren Buffett is worth like $100 billion, but he's in his late 90s. No one in their right mind would want to be Warren Buffett, even though he has all the money in the world, because what are you going to do? You're going to be able to spend it maybe for like a year. You're too unhealthy to do anything and you're going to die soon. Time is way more important than money. So you must use it wisely. The Stoics said that while we wait for life, life passes. So hurry up and live. They said that life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future. However, life is long if you know how to use it. So value time properly and don't let external things warp your sense of what is truly valuable. And again, reflecting on how external things can affect us, the rule number 8 is to focus on what you can control. You should direct energy and effort towards things only within your power. If it's up to you, it should get 100%. If it's not up to you, it should get 0%. All energy spent into things that aren't under your control is just wasted energy. And so part of this actually is to start setting realistic expectations. Understand and accept the limits of your control over external events. If you've ever heard the serenity prayer, it says to grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We must recognize the boundary between what is and isn't within our control, and then make peace within that understanding. And in our life, this might mean accepting that certain decisions are out of our hands and focusing on areas where we can make a difference and without stressing of the outcomes. And then whatever things do befall us, only focus on the things that we can do. And when you start thinking like that, you'll find that there always is something that you can do. In every situation, there is an opportunity for action or at least changing your mindset. So start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. No matter the situation, there's always a step, however small, that could be taken that will help provide you agency even in the most challenging circumstances. So relentlessly focus on the aspects that you can influence, your attitude or your lifestyle choices, the way that you seek support and information, rather than sitting there feeling helpless. Remember to focus on what you can control and actually start doing the things that you can do. Number 9, develop more emotional resilience. Work on not letting external events disturb your inner peace. The Stoics said that a bad feeling is a commotion of the mind repugnant to reason and against nature. Steel your sensibilities so that life shall hurt you as little as possible. And when you start to get better at controlling your mind, you also control your response. And when you start controlling your responses, you get better at controlling your mind. So you need to remember that you can't control events, but you can control how you respond. No man is free who is not the master of himself, as they say. And going further with this, the Stoics said that being offended is a choice. You are the person that controls your reactions to anyone else's actions or words. Gandhi, in fact, said that nobody can hurt me without my permission, which showed that this is just as present and powerful thousands of years later. Being offended or hurt, to a degree, is a choice. We have the power to choose our response to other people's words and actions. When someone makes a critical comment about you, instead of immediately feeling offended, you can choose to view it as potentially constructive feedback, even if badly worded, or you can simply recognize that their opinion just doesn't define your worth, and it doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't affect who you are or your validity as a person, and you can move on. Being offended is a choice. Number 10, practicing self-discipline. Aristotle said that through discipline comes freedom. Discipline in your thoughts and actions leads to the freedom and success that we want. With self-discipline, we can stick to a routine and a project and succeed at it. We can endure the fact that we might look crazy with our new ideas. We can endure people saying bad things about us because we are in control of ourselves. So reflect before reacting to any of your initial thoughts. It's a paradox that true freedom does come through self-discipline. By controlling your impulses and making conscious choices, you do gain mastery over your life. And part of self-discipline is cultivating patience, which also has many other benefits. But you should practice being patient with situations, with people, with yourself, because no great thing is created suddenly. Another paradox when it comes to growth and success is that it's often cripplingly slow for a very long time and then surprisingly fast. On the subject of Warren Buffett, he's made annually 20% growth every year for like 70 years, but that means that 99% of his wealth was created after he turned 50, even though he'd been working amazingly since he was 20 until 50, earning 20% each year. So remember that the greatest way to ruin things is to lose patience and act quickly and irrationally. And on the subject of that, rule number 11, let go of anger and resentment. You have to work on forgiving and understanding rather than holding grudges. This has been said in many different places that to harm another person is actually harming yourself. We are interconnected. Your actions do affect others. And as the Buddha says, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. You have to learn how to forgive. And it can be really horrible and really unnatural, but you have to realize that forgiveness is not as much a gift to the other person where you are losing out by forgiving them. Forgiveness is actually a gift to yourself. If a friend betrays your trust, you can harbor anger against them and you can never be friends with them again. And great, you just no longer have the benefit of them in your life and you harbor all this resentment. But if you can choose to forgive, that doesn't mean like condoning their actions, but just freeing yourself of the burden of resentment at least. Maybe you can become friends again, maybe not, but at least you don't hold the whole burden of resentment within you. And whether or not you want someone to like you or become friends with them again, the best revenge is usually just to not be like them or the actions that caused you the hurt. You can overcome negativity by embodying positivity and just being a better person, because reacting to something doesn't actually make you any better and certainly doesn't make you more mature. And now a quick pause for a breather whilst we discuss some of my wonderful advertisers that keep the show running. Now, number 12 might help with the anger one, and this is seeing the good in people, looking for and appreciating the positive traits in others instead of seeking to condemn them and noticing their flaws. We need to learn to be tolerant with others and just understanding that many people's errors are just accidents or simple things that just happen naturally, and instead be more analytical around our own errors and stricter upon ourselves because of so many things we judge people for, we totally do ourselves as well. Yet we don't judge ourselves half as much. So we should culture empathy and just try to understand other people's perspectives and show compassion anytime they have problems or when they're doing well, and just think about their situation and what we can learn from that. And on this topic, we should really seek to learn from everyone. Everyone has a unique understanding of the world, a unique story, and will have something to teach you wherever they've come from. So don't judge them too quickly. Look for the good in them, be empathetic, and see what you can learn from them instead. And on the subject of learning, rule number 13 is to pursue wisdom. Value knowledge and understanding. Learn from every experience as well as every person. As they say, ignorance is actually the cause of fear. Socrates, of course, was always questioning himself and questioning the common beliefs to actually try and find out what really was true. He was also very concerned with not following the mob, allowing independent thought, getting away from the influence of the crowd and other people to actually seek your own inner wisdom instead of just relying on what everybody else says. And a really powerful concept, I think, is the power to have no opinion, because not every occurrence that happens requires your judgment or requires your reaction straight away. You might not actually be able to know if something is a good or a bad thing, and actually being able to be more open-minded without having opinion of something right away, whether it is right or wrong, can be much more wise than rushing a decision. Number 14, value community and relationships. Foster strong, supportive relationships and contribute positively to your community. They say that when a person spends all his time in foreign travel, he ends up having many acquaintances but no friends. And it's totally true. You do have to spend time with people to really develop good connections. And as they say, your environment does shape your character, and you want to surround yourself with good people that you have good connections with. because that makes your life much more rich and full of content and full of support. A related rule I'm just going to throw in here is to not be afraid to ask for help, which of course only happens if you value community and have people that are willing to help you. Seeking help is actually a sign of strength and not weakness, because you're willing to be vulnerable and open with people. Sitting there thinking you know it all or can do it all by yourself doesn't actually help in the long run. And it can actually be an act of generosity, allowing other people into your life to help you. And that leads nicely into rule number 15, which is to practice generosity. That means being generous with your time, resources, knowledge. They said that in fact, the only wealth which you keep forever is the wealth that you have given away. Or Anne Frank actually said that no one has ever become poor by giving. So being generous not only benefits the other person, of course, but it also enhances the giver's own life. This is because, of course, many things come back to you in strange and beautiful ways in life, but also you can enjoy just the act of making the world a better place. And this cultures more positivity within your own mindset, which just helps you achieve lots more in life anyway. So being generous doesn't need to be huge. It can mean having friends over for dinner. It can mean volunteering at a local charity or sharing experience with someone seeking guidance in a field that you know about. These acts create a lovely sense of fulfillment and connection that enrich your life just as much as the other person's. Number 16, seek inner contentment. Find happiness within you rather than from external possessions or status. Happiness is not about having whatever you want. It's about wanting what you have. Instead of seeking external validation and approval, you can develop quiet confidence and contentment in who you are, and that cannot be taken away from you because it's under your control. And that's the bedrock of resilience. And when you achieve inner contentment, you can just be so much more calmer and still. And as Ryan Holiday wrote a whole book on the fact that stillness is the key. You can find clarity, you can find peace in stillness. And I love the quote that insecurity screams and confidence whispers. If you have an undeniable stack of proof that says you are who you say you are, you don't need to scream about it. You can be inwardly content and confident. But when you're constantly seeking validation from others, it's actually usually a sign that you aren't yet worthy or that you're doing the wrong things. So remember to always look for ways to be more content within yourself instead of from others. Now, number 17 is to embrace voluntary discomfort. That means occasionally practicing hardship to increase your appreciation for everyday comforts and building resilience. Like I said, going to Nepal, that was forced upon me because of I had to eat rice and beans every day and live in a tent for 3 months. And actually, it really helped me build gratitude and also build awareness of the fact that life wasn't that bad. I still enjoyed it. And when you can be content with just the scantiest of fare, as they said, you build much more resilience to things going wrong. Like if I did lose all my money, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't actually panic me that much. It would be annoying. I've worked for it, but it's okay. And I think this helps you recognize the Stoic concept that possessions are only temporary. And it's not just a Stoic concept, it's just a fact of life. Material things are transient and they aren't truly yours. The piece of land that you have was there before you existed. It will be there after you existed. You just happen to be on it for a time with some legal stuff that says it, but rules of physics don't dictate it will be yours forever. And any other item in your life isn't truly yours. It's just a thing that comes and goes. And so this is a good reminder to practice moderation and to seek a healthier balance in all aspects of life, whether that's the things we have or the things we do. Number 18, review and reflect daily. You should evaluate your actions, your decisions every single day to focus on your own self-improvement. As Socrates said, an unexamined life is not worth living. This underscores the importance of self-reflections to create a more meaningful life and learn from your experiences and grow as a person. They even went as far as saying that you should keep a journal where you reflect on your day's actions, what you thought you did well, what you thought could be improved, because it's a practical way to gain clarity and insight. And when you are journaling, you can also ask yourself deeper, more introspective questions to help you really understand yourself and others and what's maybe going on in your mind and what to do about it. Number 19, cultivate personal integrity. This means being honest, consistent in your principles and actions and not lying. They said, consider at what price you sell your integrity, but please, for God's sake, don't sell it cheaply. The 4 Stoic virtues were courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. And they thought this was so important and the bedrock of building more personal integrity and more satisfaction within yourself. They thought that ego was the opposite of reaching that. They thought that ego was the enemy and that you should stay humble and open-minded to recognize any of your limitations. That means that you stay open to learning and becoming a better person of even more integrity. Number 20, Avoid complaining. Focus on action and solutions rather than dwelling on problems. Complaining achieves nothing. Instead, focus on constructive actions only. The Stoics thought it would genuinely be terrible to be heard publicly complaining, or even in private to recognize themselves complaining. It said that complaining about a problem without proposing a solution is actually called whining, and whining is weak. Instead of solving things, complaining often makes problems worse because you lose your locus of control to do something, and you create just more negative energy, and you might also possibly annoy other people or yourself in the process. Instead of complaining to your coworkers, develop a plan to address the issue and present it to your manager, and be someone who's proactive. Last year, I did a 3-part series on the different types of complaining that we do, what it means, how to use complaints or change complaints to improve your life. So hot recommendation to visit the archives there if you're interested. Now, number 21, be mindful of your speech and the things you say. Speak thoughtfully and speak truthfully. First, learn the meaning of what you say, and then only should you speak, because it's better to trip with the feet than with the tongue, as they said. One of the great things about writing is you get to understand what the limits of what you know and what you don't know, but often when you're speaking out loud to others, you can start just saying lots of things and actually dig yourself into a hole. So the Stoics thought it's better to listen more than you speak. You actually learn more by listening to others than by talking. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. And that's the rule they tried to follow. Number 22. We're getting close now. Finding joy in simple things. So they really did like appreciating the simple pleasures in life. It's the nature of the wise to resist pleasures, but the foolish to be a slave to them, as they said. So in the modern day, that means like TikTok, smoking, whatever addictions that fill your lives are mostly foolish, and they take away our own power. When we rely on things that are like easy pleasures to get, we depend on them for our emotional well-being and for our resilience. And that actually makes having self-discipline harder and makes so many other things in our life more difficult. Whereas if we just appreciate simpler things, we don't need to strive for more stuff or more distractions and more addictions when we're actually happy within ourselves with less. We don't need to please other people with our stuff when we're happy with what we have. And they really preached about detaching from materialism, focusing on experiences and relationships rather than material possessions. They said that how trivial are the things that we want so passionately, when in fact he with the most is the person who is content with the least. For many men, the acquisition of wealth does not end their troubles, it only changes them. And remember from the rule to practice gratitude earlier that gratitude turns what we have into enough. And now rule number 23, if you didn't see this coming, I'll be most surprised, but rule number 23 is to adopt a growth mindset. Now, a lot of the rules so far have actually been very related to growth mindset, but more specifically, they did have the rule to view life as an opportunity for continuous growth. They were obsessed with seeking challenges. They thought that growth and strength came from overcoming challenges. They told people to focus on the process and not the outcome, to concentrate on how much effort you give rather than the result that you get. And instead told people to define their own version of success, because success should align with your values and not external standards. And that it's much better to make small daily progress, and that life boils down to just making daily progress and aiming for small, consistent improvements in your life instead of hoping for some instant big win, just sitting down and toiling through the hard work of getting slightly better day by day. And so many different aspects that just all boil down to growth mindset. So rule number 23, growth mindset. And finally, rule 24, cultivating inner strength. And that means developing the strength to face life's challenges with calmness and resilience. Strength does not come from physical capacity, it comes from an indomitable will. And that reminds us that true strength is just a matter of will and character. It's not physical. It's about developing the resilience and the capacity to face life's challenges with composure. You are able to deal with it. And I hope that all of these rules will help serve you in some way to make a brilliant year, because there's lots of potential in it. We've got the whole year to go, so good bloody luck. Remember that the Stoics did say that you should love everything that happens and more fatty. So free 25th rule there is to embrace and value every life experience that you have. Accept the things to which fate binds you. Love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. So thank you so much for listening to the Growth Mindset podcast today. And if you enjoyed any of the points today, do feel free to share it with a friend, because that's how podcasts grow. If you are feeling unusually kind and generous, feel free to whack a good review onto YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, because it's much appreciated. And I do read all the comments on Spotify and YouTube if you have them. If you do have any questions about the podcast or suggestions, or if you want to chat, then you can email me at growthmindsetpodcast@gmail.com. And with that, I bid you adieu. Remember that life is to be enjoyed, and that's not something you should put off to a future date, because then you'll keep on putting it off. So be kind to yourself, and whilst you're at it, be kind to someone else too. Thank you so much for listening.
Go you!
Your consistency to reach the end of an episode is legendary.
My hero!
But when we learn things, it's important to reflect. So I politely invite you to take a pause, rifle through the biggest ideas you just heard. So here's your opportunity to hit pause and have a think. Okay, did you wrestle with some insights? Information doesn't stick when we race from one podcast to the next without using our brain to play with the knowledge. So here's another go at a pause. Alrighty, I'll let you off to continue with your life now. If you have any ideas or feedback for the show, I'm always interested to hear from you.
You're the best!
And other than that, please stay curious. Curious. Growth. Smiling for no reason.